An Arctic blast is set to hit the United States within the next week with below average temperatures for a lot of the US. On top of that, we're going to be taking a look at the tropics on the next potential tropical cyclone and how it could potentially affect the US, beginning with the satellite imagery. Not too much going on right now at the moment. We're going to be focusing down here in the Yucatan Peninsula within the next 5 days. By Wednesday, a lot of models are pointing to possibilities of some tropical development down here, and some even pushing it to hurricane status. We've got a couple different systems out here. Leslie, which is a post-tropical cyclone. As of right now, you can barely even see on the satellite imagery. And our next potential tropical development that came off the coast of Africa a couple days ago, which doesn't look very organized at all. You can see the National Hurricane Center has now downgraded it from a 40% to a 30% over the last 48 hours. And then Leslie as just a remaintenance from its post-tropical cyclone formation. And looking at the satellite imagery of that tropical system that's coming off the coast of Africa, as of right now, doesn't look too very impressive. If this thing does decide to form and become more organized, I don't think it's going to be anything more than a tropical depression, possibly a tropical storm within the next 7 days. This is going to be the track of that storm heading straight for the Leeward Islands in the Caribbean. So it's definitely something that we're going to have to watch for long term down the road. Now, taking a look at the GFS, diving into our next potential tropical cyclone that could be forming down here in the Yucatan and the Caribbean, and we can see starting Sunday, October 13th, tomorrow, nothing as of right now or tomorrow. And as we push the radar in the future radar, the GFS model into the future, we can see by Tuesday, Wednesday, a low pressure system begins to form down in the Yucatan Peninsula, and the GFS model has been pretty consistent with this, which is why I want to continue to talk about this. It's been a trend in the models, and as far as the details, how strong it's going to be in the location, it is still very far out, so we cannot pinpoint. It's almost impossible being this far out. But the GFS right now has a 968 millibar hurricane on Sunday, October the 20th, crossing over to the Yucatan Peninsula, potentially into the Gulf of Mexico. This is the latest 18Z run. It is not quite out there yet, so it stops right here. But this is the closest it's gotten to the Gulf of Mexico. The previous model runs, if we go back to the 12Z, you can see right here, all the model runs before that has been taking it into the southern Gulf of Mexico and into Mexico, and then just diminishing off, possibly bringing some much needed rain for southern Texas. Another thing we can look at is the GFS model, and this is a whole bunch of ensemble members and put into one model run that kind of shows you what a whole bunch of different models will think is going to happen. And we can see as we push this into Wednesday, a whole bunch of members down here start popping up, mostly weak, just a low pressure system at this point. But as we start getting into Thursday and Friday, a lot of stronger members start popping up, and the spread becomes a lot more expanded at this point. And like I said, this is going to be the 12Z for this run. You can see some actually shooting the gap between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula, but like I said, as far as a exact location, it is still very far out to nail down any specifics. We've got a couple going into the Yucatan fizzling off, some going more north, and even a couple outliers going towards Florida at this moment. And we can go ahead and see if the 18Z run is out, see how far it takes us. And yeah, not too much with this run, so I will be doing an update later on once we get newer model runs out. Another thing that I want to touch on as well, even if this thing does happen to get in the Gulf of Mexico and it does happen to try to form into something, I think it's definitely going to be a challenge due to a lot of dry air in the wind shear that is present as of right now. The models do think that there's going to be a lot of shear in the Gulf of Mexico by the time this thing forms up, and we can see down here, pushing into the future, this is going to be Thursday, October 17th. We've got a 997 millibar down here, a very weak system compared to, what some of the previous models were showing. And, we've got a whole bunch of wind shear from Texas all the way to Florida, and this could definitely heed the development of any type of tropical cyclone that does attempt to enter the Gulf of Mexico. And another kinematic, we got to look at dry air. And like I said, take all of these with a grain of salt, because this is very far out to try to predict any specific details, but they've been pretty consistent over the past couple model runs. So that's why I want to take a look at them and kind of show y'all and make sure everyone's aware of what could potentially be coming. Same thing with the dry air, right? We got a system in 984, possibly maybe a Cat 1 hurricane down here at this point, tries to get in the Gulf of Mexico, gets blocked potentially by that Arctic front that that ends up coming down in this high pressure over here. Lots of dry air, so even if it did try to come to Florida, it'd be ripped apart. Possibility if it did try to come to Texas, maybe at this point with some of the model runs, it might have a chance. But like I said, still way too far out to tell to nail down any specifics. As far as the long-term climate prediction center from the National Weather Service, they're still holding this to be true. October 16th to October the 22nd, our global tropic hazards outlook has a 20% chance of some type of tropical development down here in the Yucatan Peninsula in the Caribbean within the next week or two, going into October 23rd and October 29th. That also holds true as well, and a much needed rainfall for southern down here, especially in South America. Wish we could get that up here in the northern United States. It's definitely been dry. Definitely looking forward to some of that rain. But that is going to wrap it up to today's video, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed. If you liked the video, go ahead and like it. Drop a comment down below. Let me know if y'all have any questions, and I'll be back with y'all as soon as I can with another update.